My wife wanted a hero, my best friend wanted my life, but neither expected what I had planned. I'm a military officer trained for war zones, gunfights, and high-stakes missions, but nothing prepared me for discovering my wife preferred my best friend over me. Betrayal hurts, but revenge can heal. And believe me, my revenge was surgically precise. My name's Mike. I'm 30, an Army officer who's spent the past decade jumping from one deployment to another, always leaving behind a life I thought would patiently wait for me. I married my high school sweetheart, Ashley, a woman who always seemed too good to be true, beautiful, smart, charming, and always supportive. She kept our suburban home picture perfect, filled with framed photos, soft rugs, and expensive candles she insisted were worth the money because they set the mood. I never argued, she seemed happy, and I loved that about her. My best friend, Josh, was practically family. We met in basic training at 19, two kids thrown together by the chaos of military life. We'd been through tough times together, desert heat, ambushes, and sleepless nights under enemy fire. Josh was my brother in every way except blood. Whenever I deployed, Josh stepped in to help Ashley with tasks around the house, fix appliances, mow the lawn, everything you'd expect a friend to do. Friends and neighbors often joked he spent so much time at our place he should just move in. At the time, I laughed with them. Then came the night that shattered every illusion I'd carefully built. I had just returned from a 6-month deployment, exhausted and ready for some rest, when Ashley left her tablet unattended on the kitchen table. The device was blinking with an innocent notification about low storage space. Curious, I decided to clear some files, hoping to surprise her. What I saw next was definitely a surprise, but not the kind I'd planned. Hidden among countless ordinary videos and photos were labeled folders that made my heart stop. Private and delete later screamed for attention. As I clicked through, I uncovered surveillance videos recorded from our own home's security system. The timestamps showed a clear pattern. Each video coincided exactly with my deployments overseas. Watching the footage, reality crashed into me. Josh and Ashley, wrapped together closely in my bed, enjoying each other's company as if they'd always belonged there. My wife's sweet smiles, the way she touched him, I'd thought those moments belonged only to me. I stared at the screen numb. But soon the shock faded, replaced by a cold, calculated clarity. The betrayal stung deep, but years of military training kicked in. I didn't scream or break furniture. I sat calmly in our living room and began to plan meticulously, carefully mapping out the perfect retaliation. This betrayal was no impulsive accident. It was systematic. My revenge would mirror their precision, but it would be much more public, more humiliating, and infinitely more satisfying. So I waited. I let them continue, pretended everything was fine. They had no idea I knew their secret. I returned to duty a month later, leaving them blissfully ignorant. But I wasn't running away, I was simply setting the stage. When I returned home again, promoted and celebrated, everyone expected a grand party. And I was happy to deliver exactly that. The invitations went out, including, of course, to Josh. Everyone believed this party would be the highlight of my military career. But for Ashley and Josh, it would become something far more memorable. The moment I discovered Ashley and Josh's betrayal felt like stepping onto a hidden landmine, a devastating blast I never saw coming, despite all my training. Watching those security videos became my secret, obsessive ritual, each viewing a twisted confirmation that my life at home was built on lies. Ashley, the woman who knew exactly how I liked my coffee, black with a single cube of sugar, and Josh, the guy who had a bizarre habit of eating peanut butter straight from the jar every time he visited, had managed to deceive me completely. They played their roles flawlessly, the devoted wife and the loyal friend. I wondered bitterly how many of my friends and neighbors suspected something. Did anyone notice Josh's car parked overnight when I was halfway around the world? Were there whispers at neighborhood cookouts, secret smiles behind my back? My pride stung almost as deeply as my heart. It felt ironic. I spent my career reading people, detecting threats, yet I'd been blind in my own home. I stayed quiet after that initial discovery, letting them continue their secret lives. My military training taught me that to win, you first had to study your enemy carefully. So I observed silently, noting patterns and schedules. The videos painted a clear routine. Josh visited nearly every evening I was deployed, always parking discreetly behind our backyard fence. They'd spend hours drinking wine on our patio before inevitably moving to our bedroom. Their arrogance was astounding, thinking they'd never be caught. Ashley maintained the illusion of the perfect wife even after I returned. She eagerly planned our celebration party to mark my recent promotion to major, a big event, with catering, music, and our closest circle of friends and family. She invited Josh personally, even jokingly saying he was practically co-hosting. Her excitement was genuine, naive to the irony of her words. Meanwhile, I meticulously set up my endgame. Weeks before the party, I discreetly sold off most of our joint assets. The expensive furniture Ashley adored, the sports car Josh always complimented, even our vacation home by the lake. The proceeds quietly transferred to an account in my name alone. Ashley, blinded by her distractions, never noticed anything missing. My final step involved the footage itself. Late at night, while Ashley slept peacefully beside me, I edited hours of betrayal down to a neat, 5-minute compilation. Josh and Ashley, closely entwined in my own bed, laughing between moments of closeness, utterly carefree. I titled the file, Special Tribute, feeling grim satisfaction in the cruel humor of it all. With each passing day leading up to the party, I grew colder, more detached, ready for the inevitable showdown. They had played their game masterfully, never suspecting they'd soon become the unwilling stars of my very own twisted documentary. Soon, their perfect little world would collapse in spectacular fashion, and I would stand back, calm and controlled, savoring every second. After all, wars are won with strategy, patience, and perfect timing, and I was about to prove that betrayal, like war, always comes at a steep price. The night of the party finally arrived, and our backyard was transformed into the perfect suburban fantasy. String lights hung elegantly above white linen tables, a catering crew hustled to serve exquisite hors d'oeuvres, and Ashley's carefully curated playlist played softly in the background. Josh, of course, had arrived early, eagerly helping Ashley set everything up. Watching them innocently laugh and exchange subtle, secretive glances felt like observing enemy combatants through binoculars. Close yet distant, clearly visible yet utterly oblivious. Guests poured into our home one by one, friends, neighbors, colleagues from my unit, and family members. Everyone congratulated me on my promotion, shaking hands and patting me warmly on the back, completely unaware they were gathered not just to celebrate my career, but also to witness my very personal brand of justice. The irony was thick in the air, a silent joke that only I understood. Midway through the evening, I took center stage under a decorative archway Ashley had painstakingly chosen. I tapped the microphone, drawing everyone's attention, including Josh and Ashley, who stood side by side, smiling expectantly. I thanked everyone briefly for coming, acknowledging my recent promotion with humility, before dramatically pausing, feigning genuine emotion as I turned directly toward Josh. "I especially want to thank my best friend, Josh," I announced loudly, clearly, ensuring everyone turned toward him. He smiled awkwardly, completely unprepared. "Josh has truly gone above and beyond to support Ashley during my deployments. Honestly, words just can't express what he's done for us." People nodded approvingly, murmuring softly about Josh's kindness. I felt a dark satisfaction as Ashley beamed innocently at him, unaware of how close the truth was to surfacing. In fact, I continued, my voice steady but edged with irony, I put together a special tribute to show you all exactly how much Josh has done for me and Ashley while I've been away. I pressed a small button on the remote in my hand, and a large projector screen lit up behind me. Silence swept across the yard as images flickered to life. At first, confusion filled everyone's faces, but within seconds, confusion turned into shock, disbelief, and horror. Clearly projected in vivid detail was Josh and Ashley, closely entwined in the bed I bought for our anniversary. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Ashley's face drained of color, her eyes widening with a look of pure panic, while Josh stood frozen, utterly helpless. They could only watch as their hidden lives were exposed to everyone they knew and cared about. I watched calmly, satisfied by the chaos unfolding around me. The murmurs grew louder, disgust and outrage rippling through the crowd. Friends and family turned to stare at Ashley and Josh, the whispers quickly becoming angry accusations. Their once perfect reputations dissolved right before their eyes, evaporating faster than they could comprehend. And just as they thought the worst was over, I spoke again into the microphone, my voice colder now, harder. Oh, and Ashley? Just one last detail. I took the liberty of selling our assets weeks ago. The cars, the furniture, the lake house. All of it. As of tonight, you're officially as empty-handed as you've left me. Enjoy your freedom, you've certainly earned it. I dropped the mic, the sharp thud breaking through the stunned silence. The damage was done. Ashley and Josh stood isolated, completely destroyed in a matter of minutes. They'd thought betrayal was easy, but I'd just proven them spectacularly wrong. The aftermath of my very public revelation spread like wildfire. Friends who'd embraced Ashley moments before now pulled away as if she were radioactive. Josh tried awkwardly to slip away through the backyard gate, but neighbors blocked his exit, berating him for destroying a soldier's marriage. Watching their humiliation was like cauterizing a wound, painful yet deeply satisfying. Ashley, however, had always been resourceful and refused to go down quietly. The following morning, still numb from the previous night's chaos, I woke to discover she'd swiftly retaliated in her own way. Logging into my bank accounts, I found them temporarily frozen. Ashley had attempted a desperate last-minute withdrawal, trying to drain whatever she could access. But I'd anticipated this move weeks ago, setting limits and alerts to prevent exactly that scenario. Her attempt was amateurish, predictable. She underestimated my preparation yet again. Unable to hurt me financially, Ashley moved on to something more personal. By the end of the next day, she flooded social media with tearful confessions claiming emotional neglect and accusing me of prioritizing my military career over our marriage. Her posts painted her as the lonely wife, a victim of circumstance rather than the architect of betrayal. She skillfully spun half-truths, garnering some sympathy from strangers online who knew nothing of our real story. But once again, she miscalculated. Friends, neighbors, and family who'd witnessed the damning evidence firsthand quickly rallied behind me, ruthlessly debunking Ashley's attempts to rewrite history. For every supportive comment she received online, 10 more exposed her deception, reposting video stills and screenshots from that fateful night. Ashley's own digital revenge quickly backfired, further cementing her downfall. Josh suffered his own consequences, rapidly becoming a local pariah. His workplace, a respected veterans support organization, let him go almost immediately, unwilling to tolerate the optics of employing someone who betrayed a deployed soldier so openly. Without his job or community support, Josh quietly left town within days, his life unraveling faster than he could comprehend. As for me, I felt strangely at peace. Each attempt at retaliation from Ashley and Josh was swiftly neutralized by the simple truth. They had built their downfall with their own hands. I merely showed the world their work. My military training had taught me many things, But one lesson stood out clearly now: sometimes, the most effective strike isn't physical or violent. Sometimes, the perfect revenge is simply revealing who someone really is, and watching as they destroy themselves. Yet even as I watched their worlds crumble, I knew my war wasn't quite over yet. Ashley was resourceful, Josh was desperate, and wounded pride could inspire reckless actions. I was ready. Whatever they tried next, I'd already anticipated it, and I was determined to ensure my revenge stayed absolute. The party's aftermath spiraled into chaos faster than even I'd anticipated. Ashley's desperate online attacks had already failed miserably, but I underestimated how far Josh would go to strike back. Humiliated, ostracized, and stripped of his dignity, Josh chose desperation over reason. 2 nights after the party, as I stood packing the last of my things into the back of my truck, ready to leave the house forever, I noticed smoke drifting lazily from behind the garage. My heart skipped a beat, instincts honed from years of combat instantly taking over. Sprinting around back, I saw flames already crawling greedily up the wooden fence, spreading quickly to our patio and licking at the back door of the house. There, in the pale orange glow of the growing blaze, stood Josh. His face twisted in rage, eyes wild, he held a gasoline can loosely in one hand, empty and dripping. He'd clearly intended this act as some twisted form of retaliation, a final, destructive gesture. Our eyes locked across the roaring flames. He looked lost, panicked, nothing like the friend I'd known for years. Yet, as angry as I felt, something unexpected stirred in me: pity. But pity wouldn't extinguish flames, and I knew we had seconds before the whole house erupted into a catastrophic inferno. Neighbors rushed outside, yelling, screaming, calling for help. The suburban dream Ashley had cultivated for years was rapidly turning into a blazing nightmare. Josh bolted, vanishing into the shadows as neighbors dialed 911, but Ashley stood frozen in the driveway, eyes wide in shock, tears streaming down her face. Her precious sanctuary, the place she'd betrayed me countless times, was burning to the ground. The fire trucks arrived too late, sirens wailing hopelessly as firefighters battled a blaze already too far gone. Neighbors gathered on lawns, whispering in disbelief, casting accusatory glances toward Ashley, who seemed utterly shattered. Rumors flew almost as fast as the sparks floating skyward. Did Mike snap? Did Ashley start the fire out of desperation? Had Josh lost his mind entirely? Chaos and confusion filled the air as swiftly as smoke and ash. Later that night, standing alone in the darkened street, staring at the smoldering remains of what had once been my dream home, I finally understood something critical. Ashley and Josh hadn't just set my home ablaze with betrayal. They'd ignited a fire inside me, one fueled by clarity and resilience. I realized I had already won. The flames consuming the house were nothing compared to the inferno of my freedom from their deception. Yet as I turned to leave the wreckage behind, headlights flashed brightly in my eyes. A police car parked, officers stepping out. They'd already cuffed Josh, his soot-covered face twisted in shame, helplessly watching the consequences of his reckless anger. Ashley, too distraught to speak, stared at me silently from the back seat of another cruiser, finally understanding that betrayal doesn't only burn relationships, but entire lives. I watched them go without satisfaction, just the grim acceptance of finality. Their destruction was complete, but mine wasn't. My revenge had been more effective than I'd even planned, but it had cost me nearly everything I had known. Still, I'd rebuild, stronger and wiser. After all, I'd been trained for tougher battles than this. But the scars left behind from emotional warfare always linger longer than bullet wounds, and this was one battle no training could fully prepare me for. After the fire, life moved faster than I ever imagined. The insurance investigation revealed Josh's arson clearly captured on our neighbor's security cameras, sealing his fate in a way even my revenge couldn't. He was sentenced quickly, losing his reputation, freedom, and any lingering friendships. Ashley, left with no home, no support, and her secrets exposed, moved out of state, quietly disappearing from everyone's radar. Some mutual friends tried reaching out, but her pride ensured those bridges stayed burned. As for me, I was left standing amidst the ashes, both literal and figurative. With the house gone, the memories tainted, and the ghosts of betrayal still echoing softly in my ears, I made a decision that surprised even myself. Instead of staying and picking through the ruins of my old life, I volunteered for another overseas assignment, this time with relief efforts in conflict-torn countries. Helping rebuild lives felt oddly healing, as if mending broken communities was slowly patching up the wounds inside me too. 6 months later, I found myself in a small village far away, handing out supplies and offering hope to those who had lost far more than I had. That's when I met Emma, a doctor with bright eyes and a laugh that could heal hearts. She was smart, funny, and strong enough to face the chaos without ever losing her kindness. As we spent more time together, I finally saw clearly what had been missing in my life all along: genuine trust built from honest actions rather than empty promises. Ironically, it took betrayal, humiliation, and even flames to lead me to the peace I'd always sought. My revenge hadn't just destroyed those who betrayed me, it had also freed me from a life built on lies. So, now you know the story of my painful yet ultimately satisfying path through betrayal. Let me leave you with 2 simple questions. Would you have handled the situation differently if you were me?